This is our website without any CSS. Hey guys, in this episode we are going to build this awesome responsive nature website from scratch. As you can see, we have this beautiful navigation bar and this beautiful header section with this background image. And when we scroll down, we have this services section, we have with this beautiful hover effect. And when we scroll down, we have this testimonial section and this about us section and this questions and this footer section. As you can see, this was completely responsive. When we scroll down, we have all these sections responsive. So let's build this from scratch, step by step. On my desktop, I have the project folder called nature. If you open that, inside that I have an image folder in which we have all the images that we are going to use in this website. Let's open this up with inside VS Code. Open VS Code, and at here, as you can see, you can click on open folder, or you can use any of the shortcuts down here, or simply you can click on this file icon and open folder. Here you have to select the project that you want to open inside VS Code. So I'm gonna select nature. As you can see, our project folder is opened inside VS Code. These are all the images. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, make sure to hit that so that it will reach to more learners and we can continue to building some more cool awesome projects. Now let's create our index.html file. To create a new file inside VS Code, you have to click on this icon right here, new file, and this is for new folder. So we're gonna create a new file. So I'm gonna select that and I'll create index.html. Let me zoom in a little bit. Great. And if you press shift 1 and enter, this will create the default HTML boilerplate code for you. As you can see, doc type HTML. This is the browser that this is an HTML5 document, and as you can see, we have the HTML open and closing tag and head open and closing tag and the body tag, and our title should be nature. And inside body tag, for now let's create a h1 with hello world. Now let's create our CSS file and let's link up this CSS file inside our head tag. So just below the title tag, link and press enter. Give the path to our CSS file. Now let's open our website inside browser. So to do that, you can simply go to your project folder, double click on this index.html. This will open the project inside browser. So the problem with this is, as you can see, if I make any changes here, let's say if I add a paragraph of something, and if I come to our browser, you can see our paragraph tag is not visible here. So in order to reflect the changes we made, we have to refresh. So without refreshing every time, we want to auto update that inside our website. So to make that happen, open VS Code and come to the Extensions tab right here and search for live server. You can find this extension, simply install this. After installing it, open your index.html and right click, and you can see open with live server. Click on that. This will open our website inside browser. As you can see, this was opened inside localhost. Okay, now as you can see, if I made some changes, let's remove this p tag and save this. As you can see, it was immediately reflected here. Now let's start creating our website. We have this beautiful main section in which we have this nav and this background image and this header content. So let's create a div for this entire header. I'll create a section with an ID of main. This should be our main section, and inside that we should have a container. This container is this entire thing right here. See, for the main section we add the background image and this container should be this. As you can see, our button and this logo is ending up here and here because of this, in which is the container that we are going to use across our website. So our container has a maximum width of 1200 pixel. So inside that container we have this nav. So I'll create a nav, and inside that we have a image with a class name of logo, in which we have inside images logo.png, and after that we have our nav list, which is an UL. This should be a class name of nav list, in which we have allies. Each ally should have an anchor tag. For now, hash, and this is for home, and this is for about, and this is for services, and this is for contact. And after that we have a button, which is this button right here. Inside this ally I'll create a button with a class name of btn and another class name of btn secondary, in which we have that phone number, something like that. And after the nav we have this main content. So I will create a div with a class name of main content. So inside this main content, with a class name of intro heading, this should be we all love. This should be small letter, and after that another h1 with main heading. This should be nature, and after that we have a p tag, with this text, and after that we have a button with a class name of btn and btn primary, in which we have get started. And after this section, which is this entire header section, we have our services section. So let's create a section with an ID of services, and inside this services section we have a container. So I'll create a div with a class name of container, and inside that container we have this h1 and this line right here. So for this entire thing I'll create a div section titles, and inside that we have a h1 this with the title for our section, our services, and after that we have a div with a class name of line. We're gonna style this using our CSS. So after this section title, which is this entire thing, we have this services. So I'll create a div with a class name of services, in which we have all of these three services. So let's create a service. Inside services we have service, in which we have image, title and description. So I'm gonna add a image. This should be inside images, service 1, and after that we have h3 of web design and a p tag and a description of this text. Let's duplicate our service. So simply copy this and paste it 2 more times. So this should be service 2. This is for graphic design, and this is for content creation, and this should be service 3. So after that we have this testimonial section. So after the services section, as you can see in this services section, we have a section with a class name with an ID of testimonial. Inside this testimonial we have this container. Inside that container we have a image which is code.png, and after that we have a h1 with this text, and after that we should have a div with a class name of profile, in which we have the image. This should be inside images profile, and a h4 with the text Jane Miller. After the testimonial section you can see our main section, services section, testimonial section, and after that we have this about us section. So I'll create a section with an ID of about us, and inside that we have this container, and inside that container we have this about content and about image. So I'll create a div with a class name of about content, which is this entire thing. So we have a h4, this should be about us, and after that a h1 with this text, and after that we have a p tag with the text right here, and after that p tag we have a button with a class name of btn and btn primary, in which we have let's start now, and after this about content, so I'll create a div with a class name of about image, in which we have a image which should be inside img about.png. So after the about section we have these questions. So I'll create a section with the class name of questions, so in which we have a container, and inside that we have a h1 with the text questions, and after that we have a p tag with this text, and after that we have a button with a class name of btn and btn primary, this should be let's start now, and after this question section we have this footer. So I'll create footer. Inside that, as you can see, we have a container. Inside that container we have footer links. I'll create a UL with a class name of footer links, and in which we have an li with an anchor tag of home. This should be about, this is for services, and this is for contact. So after the UL, inside the footer content, after the UL we have this logo. So I'll create an image with the class name of footer logo, in which inside images logo colored.png, and after that we have this p tag. Great. Now we designed our entire HTML layout. Now let's style this inside our CSS. So to do that, let's make sure our CSS file is linked up. Let's open this inside browser. So this is our website without any CSS. Now we are going to make it beautiful using our CSS. Okay, let's open our CSS file. And here we need two fonts from Google Fonts. So open your browser, and at here search Google Fonts, and you can find this first link right here. Open that and search for DM Sans and select that. Click on Get Font, and again go to Fonts and search for Forum and click on it and click on Get Font. You can see at here on the import, you can see DM Sans and Forum. So simply copy this and paste it here. Now let's create our root variables, in which we have color primary. For this we have this green color. I'll copy that and paste it here, and after that we have a secondary color, which should be this color. These are the two main colors that we are going to use, and I'll create a color of white. This should be EF, EF, EF. At here, as you can see, our every single HTML element has a default margin and paddings. As you can see, there is some kind of space between each of these elements. So to remove that, at the top right here, for asterisk, make margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing border box. So this will remove all the default margin and paddings for each and every single element inside our HTML. So now we can give whatever margin and paddings that we needed for every specific element. So at here, for the body, let's make font family. At here, DM and sans, and as a fallback, sans serif. Now you can see we have this DM sans font. And for every text inside our HTML, we should have a color of primary. We're gonna change this for only specifically for our nav links. Except that everything has this color by default. So after that, inside our nav, if you remember, for this section we have an ID of main. So for the main section, we have a background image. This would be, you can give background image by this property called background image and URL, and inside this you have to give the path for the image. Inside images, main.png, and if you open the browser, as you can see, we have this background image here. So for this we should add an height, a minimum height of 70 VH, and background position bottom center, and background size cover. So now we can see we have this beautiful background image. On top of this we have this our navigation, and our entire navigation is inside container. So for the container, we'll add a max width of 1200 pixel and a padding of 16 pixel and margin auto. As you can see, this move our entire content to a maximum width of 1200 pixel. So inside this nav, which is this nav right here, we should make display as flex, so that it will align this logo and this nav links side by side. And if you make justify content space between, that will align the logo at here and the nav links at here. So inside nav we have nav list. For that also, if you make display flex, these will align in your row, as you can see. And by default all our ULs has a style, so if you remove that by using list style none, and we'll add a gap of 20 pixel between them. As you can see, we have the 20 pixel of gap between each of those. Let's make it 28 pixel. Great. Now as you can see, as we added anchor tags for these nav items, by default have an underline. So for all of our anchor tags, text decoration should be none. As you can see, now that underline was removed. So after that, inside nav list, for the anchor tag, let's add color to white. And as you can see, this logo is starting at here, and this nav items is also starting to the top of this logo. We want these to be in center to this logo. So to do that, for the nav, if you make align items center, you can see this was aligned in center. So for the button right here and all of these buttons, if you remember, for each of the buttons, as you can see, we have two class names. One is BTN and one is BTM secondary or BTM primary. So by default, each of the buttons should have the styles that we applied to BTN. So for the BTN class name, I will add padding 12 pixel top and bottom and 20 pixel left and right. So by default, I'll remove background to transparent and outline none, and cursor pointer. As you can see, when I hover on it, it will be pointer. And I will add a border radius of 5 pixel. Great. Now for the BTM primary, for the BTM secondary, I'll add a border of 1 pixel solid of white, and the color of the text inside this button should be also white. Now you can see this was in white color. Let's make this to 2 pixel, and for this font weight bold, you can see we have this beautiful button. So as you can see, this button is also starting at the top of this list. To make this to center aligned, for the nav list, as we applied display flex, if you add align items to center, you can see this was aligned in center. Great. Now for the BTN primary, at the bottom right here, for the BTN primary, let's make border to none and background to secondary color and color to primary. Now you can see we have these beautiful buttons at here and there also. So as you can see, with one class name we applied all the global stylings to these buttons, and as we need some specific styles to specific button, we added this extra class name of secondary and primary, and we made the changes accordingly. Now let's target this main content, which is this main content. So inside CSS, for the main content, I'll make display as flex and flex direction. column, and align items center, and justify content center, and add margin top 80 pixel. Inside main content, for our entire text should be in white. You can see now these are all in white. And inside main content, for the h1, which is this h1 right here, intro heading, let's add font size to 50 pixel. As you can see, we have 50 pixel. And for the main heading, let's make font size to 110 pixel, and margin top -20 pixel. And inside main content, for the p tag, let's add max width to 250 pixel, and margin bottom 10 pixel. You can see we have this beautiful header content. Now let's make this header responsive. So let's inspect this and open inside mobile browser. As you can see, this is not at all responsive. So to make it responsive, at media, screen, and max width of 520 pixel. And if the screen size is less than or equal to 520 pixel, all the styles that we're gonna write here will be applied. So add here for the nav list, I'll write flex direction to column, and I will add a background of gray. As you can see, we have this gray background. And I will make position to absolute, and top 0 and right 0, and width 80%, and height 100 VH, padding top of 80 pixel. And inside this nav list, for each li, I will add text align to left, and width 100%, and padding top and bottom 10 pixel, and left and right 30 pixel. And I will add margin bottom of 1 pixel, solid of white, this should be border bottom. As you can see, this was applying the border to this button also. We don't want this this border for this button. So to do that, for this we have a CSS property called not, for which we don't want that. We don't want that for last child. If I apply last child, so all these styles for the last child it won't apply. So inside these LIs, this button is the last child, so this border is not applying to this button. So now we should add a button here, like a menu toggle. So to add that, inside the UL, or after the UL, let's add a div with a class name of an image with a class name of menu btn, in which inside images menu.svg. As you can see, we have this menu button. So for this menu button, inside CSS at the top right here, for the menu button, let's make position as absolute, and top 10 pixel, and right 10 pixel, and this should be hidden, display none on desktop, when it was inside mobile, we have to make display block. Now as you can see, inside desktop we don't have that button, whereas in mobile we have that button. So let's make it top 20 pixel and right 20 pixel so that we have some extra space. Let's add a width of 30 pixel. Great. Now when we click on this button, we have to hide this, and when we click again we have to show this. So to do that, let's open the index.html file, and at the bottom right here, before closing body tag, let's write a script. If you don't know JavaScript, just follow along, you will be able to achieve this effect. Inside the script, we have to write a variable called now button, which should be inside our document dot query selector. This should be menu btn, which is that button. So, and we have to get our now list. This should be inside document dot query selector. This is our now list. So when we click on that now button, so for the now button I will add a event listener, which should be click. So whenever we click on this now button, we have to run a function. Inside that function we have to define for the now list dot class list dot toggle. We should add a class name called active. So what this will do is that, as you can see, whenever I click on this, you can see whenever I click on this menu button, this active class name is toggling for the now list. You can see we have active. When I click again, we don't have that active. So whenever this class has an active, we have to show this this sidebar, this now links inside this sidebar. Whenever we don't have that active link, we have to hide that. So to do that, by default we have to make right to minus 900 pixel so that it will go out of the screen. So whenever this now list has a class name of active, so we have to make sure there is no space between this now list and this active. So whenever this now list also has a class name of active, we have to make right 0. So as you can see, we have this beautiful navigation menu. So we need a smooth effect to this. So to add that, for the now list, if you add a transition of 0.3 seconds for all, 0.3 seconds is, now you can see this smooth animation. Great, right? Let's move on to our next section, which is our services. So as you can see, and if you remember, inside services section we have this section title. So at top right here, inside section title for the h1, let's make font size to 50 pixel and text align center, and inside section title for the line, let's make a width of 150 pixel and a height of 4 pixel and border radius of 10 pixel. This should as a background of secondary. You can see we have this line right here, and for this if you add margin auto, that will come to center. Great, right? Now for the section title, if you add great. Now as you can see, for each of our section we should have a space between each of those sections. Below this container, for the section I will add margin top and bottom 80 pixel and left and right. auto. Now you can see each of our sections has a minimum space of 60 pixel, and by default it was applying to our header section, main section also. So instead of giving it a section, I will rename it to div, so that we don't get the styles to our main section. Except that main section, all of our section will have a space of 60 pixel on top and bottom. So inside the services section, after the section title, we have a class name of services, the bottom right here. For the services, in which we have all of our services, I will add margin top 40 pixel, and I will add display. Let's add a gap of 16 pixel between each of those. And inside services, for each service I will add a width of 300 pixel, and as you can see our image is overflowing more than 300 pixel. So to remove that overflowing, inside service, for the image, let's make max width to 100% so that it won't overflow. Let's make this 350 pixel. And for the services, if you make justify content center, this will be aligned in center. And whenever we hover on this image, we want a smooth zoom in effect. So for that, for this image, let's add some border radius of 5 pixel. And whenever we hover on this image, I'll make transform scale 1.2, and I will add transition for the transform. For the transform property, 0.3 seconds of each, you can see, or you can make 1.05. Great. Now let's see if this is responsive or not. This is not at all responsive. So to make it responsive, if you apply display flex and each of the style has a fixed width, if you make flex wrap as wrap, whenever there is not enough space for each of these styles, that will come down, as you can see, inside the mobile. Now let's style our testimonial section. If you remember, we have this ID called testimonial at here. For the testimonial section, we have a background of gray color. Let's change this to something like this. Yeah. And inside this testimonial section, we have the container. As you can see, inside the testimonial section, we have the container. Only for the container that was inside this testimonial, we make display flex and flex direction column and align items center and max width to 500 pixel and a gap of 16 pixel between each of the elements. And inside this testimonial container, we have profile, which is this profile right here, in which we have the image and the title. Let's make display flex and flex direction column and justify content center and align items center. And for inside testimonial, for the h1, let's make font size to 50 pixel and font family to forum, and as a fallback sans serif. Let's make this 600 pixel and the gap to 30 pixel, and for the H1 text align center, and for this container let's add padding 50 pixel top and bottom and 16 pixel left and right. You can see our beautiful testimonial section. Let's open this inside mobile. As you can see, at here also it was completely responsive. Now let's style our about us section. So inside about us we have the container. For that let's make display as flex. Now you can see this content and this image is in a row. So inside this let's make align items to center and justify content space between and a gap of 120 pixel, and inside this container for the about content let's make max width to 600 pixel to 500 pixel, and display flex and flex direction column, and we should have a gap of 16 pixel, and align items start. And inside this about content for the H1 we have the font family of forum, and as a fallback sans serif, and font size 30 pixel. As you can see, this was responsive till tablet, but when in mobile this is not at all responsive. So to make this responsive inside mobile, for the about us container inside the media query at the bottom right here, let's make flex direction to column and make the gap to 30 pixel so that we have less space. You can see we have this beautiful responsive about us section also. Now let's style our question section, which is this questions. You can see, let's copy this ID, and at the top right here for the questions let's add a min height of 500 pixel, and for this we have a background image which is URL inside images, main2.png, and background position should be bottom center, and background size cover. Now inside questions for the container let's make max width to 500 pixel and flex direction column and gap 16 pixel, and align items center and justify content center, and let's make height to 500 pixel. We have to make display flex, only then flex direction, align items and justify content will work. Now you can see this was in center, and inside these questions for the H1 let's make font size 250 pixel. You can see we have this beautiful question section also, and for this make text align to center, Now let's open this inside mobile. Now you can see how beautiful question section also. Now let's style our footer. So for the footer, let's make display as flex, and let's add some padding top and bottom, 40 pixel, and left and right 16 pixel, and justify content space between. As you can see, inside the footer we have this container, so we have to apply all of the styles to that container inside this footer for the container. As you can see, these nav links are here, logo in center, and this footer text is at the end. So if you make align items center, so this will be aligned in center. So for the footer list, so inside this footer links, if you make display as flex and align items center and a gap of 16 pixel and list style none. And as you can see, our questions is a section. By default we added a margin top and bottom to all of our sections, so we have this extra 60 pixel of margin bottom to the section, so that we have this extra space. So to remove that, you can add we can do two things. Either we should remove margin bottom to this section, or we can add margin top minus 60 pixel to this footer. Let's follow the second way. So for this footer container, so for this footer I will add margin top minus 60 pixel, so that it will be like this. And let's make this padding to 20 pixel. Now it's look great. Now let's open this inside mobile. So as you can see, inside mobile it is not at all responsive. So to make this responsive, copy this footer for the footer container. Inside media query, we have to make flex direction as column. As you can see, this was aligned in column, and we should add a gap of 16 pixel. Now we can see we built our entire nature website from scratch. So if you want to build any other projects in HTML, CSS or JavaScript or in React, comment down in the comment section down below, so that we can build those projects in our next episodes. So that's all for this episode. I see you guys in the next episode.